The art of focusing on yourself is a pivotal concept in Buddhist philosophy. When you master the art of self-focus, you reclaim control over your mind. Your thoughts are no longer hijacked by distractions, doubts, or the chaos of others. As Buddha once said, "Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without." Yet, in a world that demands your attention every second, how do you find that inner peace? How do you silence the noise, stop comparing, and prioritize your growth without guilt? Many of us feel trapped, pulled in every direction by expectations, responsibilities, and endless notifications. We pour energy into everyone else, leaving nothing for ourselves. What if the key to unlocking unshakable focus and inner peace lies not in changing your surroundings, but in changing how you see yourself? In this video, we're uncovering 6 powerful Buddhist lessons, timeless yet practical tools used by monks to master their minds in the face of life's chaos. Each lesson is a step toward focusing on you every day with intention and clarity. Stay till the end, because there's a bonus lesson, a truth so powerful it can reshape your perspective for life. If there's one thing to take away from this video, it's this: master your mind and you'll master your life. Let's begin this life-changing journey with number 1. Accept life's imperfection. You wake up and everything feels slightly off. The coffee isn't as strong, the weather is gloomy, and your phone buzzes with a message that instantly irritates you. You shake your head, thinking, why can't things just go right? But what if the real problem isn't the inconvenience, it's your resistance to it? The first Buddhist lesson to focus on yourself is to accept life's imperfection. Imagine a cracked vase. To most, it seems broken, flawed. But when light strikes it, it creates a mesmerizing pattern of scattered beams, something a perfect vase could never offer. Likewise, your imperfections do not diminish your value. They reveal a unique beauty. The world breaks everyone, but afterward, many are strong at the broken places. This quote reminds us that the cracks in our lives, the heartbreaks, the losses, the disappointments, are where our strength seeps through, but only if we stop resisting them. In Buddhist philosophy, the concept of dukkha, the inevitable suffering of life, teaches that imperfection is part of existence, not a personal flaw. Yet, modern life conditions us to despise anything that falls short of perfection. You might lose your temper over a delayed meeting or stew over a minor criticism. But what if, instead of resisting, you practiced radical acceptance? The next time you face a daily frustration, slow internet, a long queue, or spilled coffee, pause. Breathe deeply and observe the discomfort without trying to fix it. Journal about the moment without judgment. Then, challenge yourself to reframe it. This delay is giving me a chance to breathe, or this challenge is teaching me patience. When you allow yourself to see life's glitches as part of the flow, you become more adaptable, less reactive. Acceptance doesn't mean surrendering to a dull life. It means making peace with its cracks, knowing they add depth. But why is this lesson so hard? Because we equate imperfection with inadequacy. You may think, if my job isn't ideal, I've failed. Or, if my relationship has struggles, it's broken. This mindset makes you chase illusions of flawlessness. In reality, even nature thrives on imperfection. A crooked tree still grows tall. A rough stone still holds warmth. You were never meant to be flawless. You were meant to be real. And in your authenticity lies your freedom. Now, reflect. What crack in your life are you trying to hide that could become a source of strength? Maybe it's a past failure that made you wiser. Maybe it's a scar that reminds you of your resilience. Or maybe it's an emotional struggle that has made you more compassionate. When you embrace your flaws, they become part of your authenticity. Here's the twist. Imperfection is not failure. It's the universe's signature of authenticity. A person who carries their flaws with grace commands more respect than one who hides behind a mask of perfection. So, practice this. For the next 7 days, challenge yourself to embrace at least one flaw or imperfection in your daily life. If you make a mistake, smile at it instead of criticizing yourself. When plans fall through, see it as an opportunity for spontaneity. At the end of the week, write down how it made you feel. Did you experience less stress, more self-compassion? You might be surprised to discover that in letting go of the obsession with perfection, you'll gain something far more valuable: inner peace. 2. Perspective is everything. You face a setback, a missed opportunity, a rejection, or a harsh criticism, and immediately your mind starts weaving a narrative. I'm unlucky. Life is against me. But what if that story is just a faulty perspective? The second Buddhist lesson to help you focus on yourself is to remember this: perspective is everything. Imagine holding a kaleidoscope. When you first look through it, you see chaotic fragments of color, scattered and disorganized. But with a slight twist of the lens, the pieces rearrange into a mesmerizing pattern. The chaos was never the problem. It was your angle of viewing it. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is a story you choose to tell. This Buddhist wisdom reminds us that while pain is part of life, the suffering attached to it is often self-created. It arises from the narratives you construct around your experiences. In Buddhist philosophy, the law of dependent origination. It teaches that reality is not fixed, but shaped by your perception. A difficult coworker may seem like a source of misery, but through a shifted lens, they could become your teacher in patience. A financial struggle could either feel like a crushing failure or a catalyst for creativity. Your perspective is not a passive mirror reflecting reality. It is a painter creating it. You hold the brush. But most people forget this. When something goes wrong, they ask, "Why me?" They frame themselves as victims, but the wiser question is, what is this teaching me? When you feel overwhelmed, pause and reframe. Ask yourself, is this a crisis or a lesson wearing a disguise? Here's a practice. The next time you encounter a frustrating situation, whether it's a difficult client, a failed project, or an unexpected inconvenience, breathe and observe your mental narrative. Instead of spiraling into blame or self-pity, shift your lens. For instance, if a friend disappoints you, resist the story that says, "No one is reliable." Instead, consider, maybe this is teaching me self-reliance. Or, when facing rejection, transform the narrative from "I'm not good enough" to "I'm being redirected to something better." The situation doesn't change, but your interpretation of it does. And that changes everything. But why is this lesson so powerful? Because your perception defines your reality. Two people can experience the same event, say, losing a job. One sees it as a devastating blow to their identity. The other views it as an opportunity to pivot towards something they truly love. Same event, different worlds. Your suffering doesn't stem from the event itself. It stems from the meaning you assign to it. And here's the twist. When you change your story, you change your life. Now, reflect. What situation are you viewing as a prison that could be a portal? Maybe it's your demanding job. You see it as suffocating, but could it be a boot camp forging your resilience? Or perhaps you view a breakup as a personal failure. But could it be a door to rediscovering your independence? When you train yourself to shift perspectives, you liberate your mind from self-imposed suffering. So, for the next 7 days, practice this. When faced with discomfort, consciously reframe it. If your day feels hectic, instead of saying, "I'm overwhelmed," tell yourself, "I'm being stretched to grow stronger." If you feel lonely, instead of thinking, "No one cares," say, "This is my chance to enjoy my own company." Write down your reframed stories at the end of each day. You'll discover that by twisting the kaleidoscope, the once chaotic fragments of life become breathtaking patterns of meaning. 3. Surrender entitlement. You pour your heart into a project, expecting recognition. You support a friend, hoping for the same loyalty in return. But when the praise or gratitude doesn't come, you feel bitter. Why? Because of entitlement, the belief that your efforts guarantee specific outcomes. The third Buddhist lesson to help you focus on yourself is to surrender entitlement. Imagine building a sandcastle. You sculpt it with care, shaping every tower and carving every detail. But no matter how skillfully you build it, the tide eventually rises and washes it away. The hours of effort vanish in seconds. Yet, the wise person doesn't curse the ocean. They accept the impermanence, knowing the beauty was in the building, not in the permanence of the castle. Attachment to outcomes is the root of all heartache. This Buddhist truth reminds us that suffering arises not from the effort we give, but from the expectation of what we will receive in return. In Buddhism, this lesson ties to the practice of non-attachment, which teaches that clinging to results creates suffering. You might work diligently at your job, expecting a promotion. You might be kind to others, expecting appreciation. But when reality doesn't match your mental script, resentment follows. The problem isn't life. It's your assumption that life owes you something in exchange for your effort. Entitlement is a deceptive form of greed. It disguises itself as fairness, but is rooted in the craving for control. The antidote? Act as if you deserve nothing. For 1 week, challenge yourself to release expectations. List 3 things you feel entitled to. Perhaps it's praise for your work, loyalty from a friend, or a specific outcome in your life. Then, for the next 7 days, move through your actions with detachment from the result. Give your best without expecting applause. Offer kindness without needing it to be reciprocated. You'll be surprised to discover that when you stop grasping for reward, your sense of gratitude grows. But why is this lesson so liberating? Because entitlement robs you of the joy of the present. When you cling to how things should be, you miss the beauty of how they are. You might think, "I deserve a peaceful life." But what if the chaos you resist is making you stronger? You might think, "I deserve love in return for mine." But what if the real gift lies in the love you give freely, not the love you receive? When you let go of the belief that life owes you something, you become free to experience it as it is, raw, unpredictable, and beautiful. Here's the twist. Letting go of should opens the door to what is, and what is enough. Now, reflect. What sandcastle are you clinging to that the tide will claim anyway? Maybe it's your obsession with professional success, believing that wealth or recognition will bring fulfillment. But when you surrender entitlement, you realize that fulfillment is found in the effort itself, not the outcome. Or perhaps you're clinging to a relationship, convinced that it should last forever. But when you accept its impermanence, you'll cherish it more deeply, knowing it's a gift, not a guarantee. So practice this. For the next week, catch yourself when you expect a specific outcome. When you help someone, don't look for appreciation. When you work hard, Detach from the idea of praise. When you love, give without keeping score. Each time you let go of entitlement, you'll discover a deeper peace, the kind that doesn't depend on external validation. And that is how you reclaim your power, by surrendering the need for life, to meet your demands, and learning to meet life as it is. 4. Forgive like the sky. You've been wronged, betrayed by a friend, criticized unfairly, or abandoned by someone you trusted. The anger festers. You replay the scene, clenching your fists at the injustice. But what if the real harm is not in what they did, but in the poison you keep drinking by holding on? The fourth Buddhist lesson to help you focus on yourself is to forgive like the sky. Imagine a storm rolling through. The sky darkens, the rain pours, and the winds rage. But once the storm passes, the sky doesn't cling to the rain. It simply lets it go. It doesn't demand an apology from the clouds. It doesn't hold a grudge against the wind. It returns to being vast and open, as if nothing ever happened. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. This Buddhist wisdom reveals a painful truth. Your resentment doesn't imprison them, it imprisons you. In Buddhism, the concept of loving-kindness meditation teaches the power of releasing ill will. When you refuse to forgive, you carry the weight of the pain everywhere you go. The person who hurt you might have long forgotten the incident, but you still nurse the wound. You justify your bitterness, thinking, if I forgive, they win. But that's the illusion. Forgiveness isn't about them. It's about freeing yourself from the grip of their shadow. Here's a powerful practice. Take a few minutes to write a letter to someone who wronged you. Pour your unspoken thoughts into the page, the anger, the sadness, the disappointment. Write every word you've been holding back. Then, when you're ready, burn it. As the smoke rises, say aloud, your pain ends here. You're not excusing their behavior. You're liberating your heart from its chains. You're declaring that their actions no longer have the power to dim your light. When you forgive like the sky, you refuse to let the storm define you. But why is forgiveness so difficult? Because your mind clings to justice as a form of self-protection. You believe that holding on to the pain somehow keeps you safe from future harm, but in reality, it does the opposite. It keeps you shackled to the very thing that hurt you. You may carry bitterness towards an old boss, thinking, they never appreciated me. Or you may resent a former partner, convinced that your anger shields you from future heartbreak. But the truth is, clinging to bitterness doesn't protect you, it poisons you. Now reflect. Who are you refusing to forgive, and what's it costing your peace? Maybe it's a parent whose words cut too deep, or a friend who broke your trust, or perhaps the hardest person to forgive, yourself. You may still hold on to guilt over past mistakes, unable to grant yourself the same mercy you would give to a stranger. But here's the twist. Forgiving yourself is the highest form of self-love. When you release your own self-condemnation, you become as expansive as the sky, open, limitless, and free. So, practice this. For the next 7 days, each night before bed, close your eyes and picture one person who has wronged you. It may be a co-worker, a family member, or even yourself. With each breath, silently say, I release you. I release me. You don't need to condone their actions. You only need to free yourself from their hold. And as you do, you'll feel lighter, as if the storm clouds have lifted, because they have. You'll realize that forgiveness was never about letting them off the hook. It was about unhooking yourself from their grip. 5. Focus inward. You scroll through your phone, seeking likes and comments, hoping for validation. You replay a conversation in your mind, craving approval for how you handled it. You check your inbox, waiting for that one message to affirm your worth. But no matter how much you seek, it never feels like enough. That's because you're searching for your reflection in other people's eyes. The fifth Buddhist lesson to help you focus on yourself is to focus inward. Imagine a lighthouse. It doesn't chase ships, begging them to notice its light. It simply stands tall, grounded, steady, and bright. It doesn't need recognition from the ocean to fulfill its purpose. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. This Rumi-inspired truth reflects a Buddhist principle. Everything you seek externally already exists within you. The light you look for in others' approval is already shining inside. You've simply forgotten to look. In Buddhism, this lesson ties to pratyahara, the withdrawal of the senses. It teaches that the more you direct your energy outward toward external validation, achievements, or opinions, the more disconnected you become from yourself. It's like standing in front of a cracked mirror, hoping to see a flawless reflection. You keep adjusting the angle, unaware that the distortion lies in the mirror itself, not in you. The solution? Stop chasing reflections. Return to your source. Here's a practice. Spend 5 minutes daily in silent self-inquiry. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, breathe deeply. Then ask yourself, what do I need to let go of to shine brighter? Maybe it's the need for constant approval, or the compulsion to compare yourself to others, or the habit of shrinking your light to make others comfortable. As you breathe, let those illusions fall away. With each exhale, release one attachment to praise, to opinions, to outcomes. With each inhale, draw your awareness inward like a lighthouse anchoring into its foundation. But why is this lesson so powerful? Because when you focus inward, you stop being swayed by the tides of others' opinions. The praise or criticism of the world becomes like passing waves. It touches you, but it doesn't shake your core. You'll stop seeking validation from every comment or gesture. You'll stop dimming your light to fit into the expectations of others. Instead, you'll radiate from within, a steady beam, unshaken by the storm. Now, reflect. Are you seeking validation from others' eyes or anchoring in your own truth? Maybe you crave recognition at work, thinking it will define your worth. But when you focus inward, you realize that your competence doesn't need confirmation. Or maybe you rely on likes or compliments to feel beautiful. But when you focus inward, you recognize that your beauty is in your being, not in others' seeing. The more you turn inward, the less power the external world holds over you. So practice this. For the next 7 days, each time you feel the urge to seek approval, whether it's checking social media, waiting for praise, or replaying someone's opinion, pause. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply. Redirect your focus inward. Instead of asking, do they approve of me? Ask, do I approve of myself? Spend a few minutes in stillness, listening to your inner voice. You'll discover that the more you focus inward, the brighter your light becomes. And ironically, when you stop seeking validation, the world begins to take notice. Not because you demanded it, but because your presence itself becomes undeniable. 6. Live simply, live deeply. Your life feels heavy, cluttered with obligations, overrun by possessions, and crowded with noise. You chase more, thinking that accumulation is the path to fulfillment. More success, more wealth, more validation. But despite having more, you feel less. Less peace, less clarity, less joy. The sixth Buddhist lesson to help you focus on yourself is to live simply, live deeply. Imagine a bonsai tree. Its beauty doesn't come from its size or excess foliage. It comes from the art of subtraction. Each branch is deliberately pruned, each leaf carefully removed. The tree isn't made beautiful by what is added, it becomes beautiful by what is taken away. The secret of happiness is not in doing what one likes, but in liking what one does. This Buddhist wisdom reveals a profound truth. Simplicity is not about having less, it's about making room for what matters. In Buddhism, simplicity is deeply connected to mindful living. The monastic life embodies this principle, owning only what is necessary, walking slowly, and eating with full attention. But simplicity doesn't require renouncing the world. It only asks that you stop mistaking distractions for necessities. You might think you need the latest gadget, the trendiest clothes, or a packed social calendar. But these things often take more than they give. They take your time, your focus, and your peace. The solution? Prune your life like the bonsai. Here's a practice. Choose one space to declutter, a room, a drawer, your inbox, or even your mind. Spend 15 minutes removing what is unnecessary. If you're clearing your physical space, ask yourself, does this add value to my life or just noise? If you're decluttering your digital life, unsubscribe from unnecessary emails, mute distractions, and clear your social media feed. As you remove the excess, you'll notice something surprising. Your mind becomes lighter too. The physical clarity creates mental spaciousness. You'll breathe easier, think clearer, and feel freer. But why is simplicity so powerful? Because it creates room for presence. When your life is overfilled with commitments, possessions, and mental clutter, you become numb. You rush through your day, missing the beauty of the present moment. But when you simplify, you slow down enough to feel alive again. You taste your food instead of inhaling it. You listen to a loved one without checking your phone. You walk outside and notice the warmth of the sun on your skin. Simplicity doesn't make life dull. It makes it more vibrant because you're finally present enough to see it. Now reflect. What distractions are you mistaking for necessities? Maybe it's the constant notifications you think you need to stay connected. But when you silence them, you'll reconnect with yourself instead. Or perhaps it's the habit of filling every spare moment with productivity. But when you slow down, you'll realize that being isn't wasting, it's living. The less you carry, the freer you move. So, practice this. For the next 7 days, simplify one area of your life daily. On day 1, declutter your physical space. On day 2, clear your digital space. On day 3, simplify your schedule. Cancel one unnecessary commitment. On day 4, simplify your diet. Eat more mindfully. On day 5, simplify your mind. Spend 10 minutes in stillness. On day 6, simplify your conversations. Speak less, listen more. On day 7, simply be. Sit in silence, doing nothing but breathing. With each layer you shed, you'll feel lighter, freer, and more alive. Because the truth is, minimalism isn't deprivation. It's making space for the sacred. And when you live simply, you discover the most profound richness of all, peace in the present moment. Bonus lesson, the paradox of selflessness. You spend your days seeking, chasing achievements, grasping for recognition, and clinging to the image you've built. You fight to prove your worth through titles, wealth, or validation. Yet, despite all the striving, you still feel empty. That's because the self you're trying to protect is the very thing suffocating you. The bonus Buddhist lesson to help you focus on yourself is to embrace the paradox of selflessness. Imagine an empty bowl. When full, it cannot receive anything more, but when it is empty, it can hold limitless nourishment. This is the paradox. When you loosen your grip on yourself, you become boundless. To find yourself, lose yourself in service to others. This profound Buddhist wisdom reveals a secret. When you stop being the center of your own world, you become free enough to discover it. In Buddhism, the practice of dana, or selfless giving, is not just about charity, it's about dismantling the ego's grip. The ego constantly demands, "What about me? My needs, my success, my suffering." It makes you believe that happiness comes from adding more to yourself. More money, more admiration, more control. But Buddhism teaches that joy is not in accumulation, it's in dissolution. The less you focus on yourself, the more spacious you become. And in that spaciousness, joy flows in effortlessly. Here's a practice. For one day, consciously shift your focus outward. When you feel tired, instead of retreating inward, offer a small kindness. Compliment someone sincerely. Hold the door open. Send a message of encouragement. When you feel overwhelmed, instead of withdrawing into yourself, extend your presence outward. Listen deeply to a loved one. Help a stranger. Pay attention to the world around you. And here's the twist. As you let go of self-concern, you'll feel lighter, freer, and more alive. But why does this paradox work? Because the ego is a hungry ghost. No matter how much you feed it, it remains unsatisfied. It clings to validation, yet it is never fulfilled. It obsesses over being right, yet it creates inner turmoil. But the moment you release the grip of self-importance, the need for validation dissolves. You no longer need to win every argument or prove your worth. You no longer measure your value by how you're perceived. And in that release, you taste true freedom. Now, reflect. What would you dare to create if your ego wasn't keeping score? Maybe you'd write that book you've been dreaming of, without worrying about whether it would be a bestseller. Maybe you'd speak your truth, without obsessing over how others would judge you. Or perhaps you'd finally pursue your passion, not for fame or praise, but for the sheer joy of expression. When you stop keeping score, you create from a place of purity, unshackled by outcome. So practice this. For the next 7 days, perform one selfless act daily. But here's the key. Expect nothing in return. On day 1, give genuine praise. On day 2, listen without interrupting. On day 3, offer a small act of kindness in secret. On day 4, let someone else take credit. On day 5, forgive someone silently. On day 6, help without being asked. And on day 7, simply be present with someone who needs it. With each act of selflessness, you'll feel lighter, freer, and fuller. Because the paradox is real. The less you chase happiness, the more it finds you. And the more you lose yourself in service, the more deeply you'll discover the infinite self, the one that is free from the need to be anything at all. Quick summary of the 6 lessons. Accept imperfection. Pain and imperfection are unavoidable, but they train resilience. Stop fighting chaos. Practice daily acceptance of things you can't control, e.g., mistakes, delays, to reclaim peace. What if your flaws are the universe's way of sculpting your strength? Shift your perspective. Reality is shaped by your mindset. Reframe struggles as lessons by asking, is this a crisis or a teacher in disguise? Suffering fades when you stop resisting. Release entitlement. Let go of expectations, success, praise, fairness. Act as if you deserve nothing, and watch gratitude replace resentment. What outcome are you clinging to that's stealing your joy? Forgive fearlessly. Grudges chain you to the past. Write a letter to someone who hurt you, burn it, and say, your pain ends here. Forgiveness is freedom, not weakness. Focus inward. Your worth isn't defined by others. Spend 5 minutes daily asking, what noise do I need to silence to hear myself? Clarity begins when the world's chatter stops. Simplify relentlessly. Cut distractions masquerading as needs. True abundance isn't owning more, it's needing less. What clutter is suffocating your soul? The quieter you become, the more you can hear, says Zen wisdom. These lessons aren't rules, they're keys to a prison you didn't know you were in. Imagine a life where stress isn't managed, it's dissolved, where you're no longer a slave to others' opinions or your own fears. That freedom isn't a fantasy, it's your birthright. Zen masters teach that the mind is like a rippling pond. It only reflects clearly when still. Every time you chase perfection or cling to control, you stir the water. But when you focus inward, you see the truth. You are already whole. The chaos? It's just weather passing through the sky of your being. Modern life screams, do more, be more. Buddhism whispers, be still. You are enough. The greatest rebellion is to stop hustling for worth and rest in the radical truth that you matter, not for what you achieve, but because you exist. Why seek approval when you can awaken to your own divinity? Here's the twist no one tells you. Letting go isn't loss, it's liberation. When you release entitlement, forgive deeply, and simplify ruthlessly, you don't lose, you upgrade. You trade burnout for peace, clutter for clarity, and noise for a symphony of purpose. Do not dwell in the past, do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment, taught the Buddha. Your journey starts now. Try one lesson today, then another. And if this ignited a spark in you, fan the flame. Like, share, and subscribe to Deep Wisdom for more life-changing insights. Drop a comment. What's the first thing you'll release to reclaim your power? The path to peace begins with a single step.